Hi, my name is Jennifer Sikora. I am a marketing advisor with the 24 and Up Startup Studio, and I am here speaking with the co-founder and CEO of Wayfound, Tatyana Mamut. Hi, Tatyana.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, we are talking about all things AI agents and AI agent supervision. And the topic today for this conversation is the difference between AI agent observability that we have all traditionally learned and understood, and now the progression to where things are maturing, which is guardian agents for supervision. So just to tee this up with Tatyana, more and more agents, Tatyana, are obviously moving into production in 2026, right? Prototyping and experimentation is now moving into the real world. And that means that the management layer for these agents needs to be a lot more robust. And so that criteria for what that looks like is very rapidly evolving. So take me through this graduation from agent observability. Is it going away, or is guardian agents additive? So outline me first, I guess, for those who may not know, what can one expect in traditional agent observability to start
Thanks,
there?
Jen. Yeah. So traditional agent observability tools really come from traditional just software observability and monitoring tools. So they're the standard traditional systems where they send you the telemetry from what is happening inside a software platform. You have a dashboard. A lot of those things are very kind of binary, single turn. Are there any errors? Are they not errors? And it's really meant for a very low touch type of engagement because software runs the same way every time. So things shouldn't be going wrong very often. And it's just kind of there to tell you what's happening, what's going wrong, and give you the data just in case somebody wants to go in and look at it. The difference with AI agents is that they do not run the same way every time.
Yeah.
And so there needs to be a much more engaged way to understand what they are doing all the time. So traditional observability tools that give you dashboards and maybe a few basic error reports still require a human to go in and actually pull the logs, pull the traces, pull the transcripts, pull all the chain of thought reasoning blocks, and then manually read them. And this doesn't work in an agentic world, right? Because the bottleneck is humans in traditional observability platforms, because the intelligence is required to actually pull all of that data back to look at why the error happened, what exactly was the context, and what to do about it. And so a traditional observability completely falls down in an agentic world in
That
post
makes a lot of
deployment.
sense. Yeah. Agents are a completely different animal, as we're all learning and dealing with today. So as businesses are deploying those market facing agents, right, there's sort of internal only agents and you need to care about those. But those that are like interacting with customers or potential customers or serving in some sort of a support function, when does that air cover observability really start to become nearly enough? What are the signals that people should be looking for, and what is needed instead as we move into like, okay, it's time to get something else in here?
Yeah. So the basic framework here is to say, how do I know that the agent is performing its job well and is staying compliant with all of my organization's rules, legal requirements, brand voice and tone guidelines, and staying in the on the rails essentially of what it's doing. So it's both performance and compliance. You really have to think about it like an employee, right? A manager doesn't just look after an employee being compliant with the organization's rules and laws.
Right.
The manager is also responsible for the performance of the employee,
Yeah.
right? And
And
constantly giving them.
conversely, you have to perform. If you're performing well, you still have to perform in compliance.
Exactly. So those two things now become this new challenge for AI agents. So traditional observability gives you none of that because you actually need intelligence and you need judgment and you need to understand the criteria, not just in a single eval framework where it's like a single turn. Is this particular request response compliant, but is the overall conversation compliant and is actually achieving the goal that it's meant to achieve? So we have to move from monitoring and observability to supervision and improvement, right? Improvement
Yeah.
through feedback. And that requires intelligence. And in that case, you really need a guardian agent. And a guardian agent is a supervisor agent that is built specifically to not just watch and observe what the other agents are doing, but also understand, are they performing their role and goal well? Are they performing within a compliance of their guidelines? Are they doing what the organization wants them to do? And then immediately suggest how to improve them, right? Closing that loop with intelligence. So you need intelligence, not just observability.
That's a really fantastic and helpful distinction, Tatyana. And I know Gartner really came out strong at the beginning of this 2026. In February, they published their first ever market report about guardian agents. Wayfound was part of that report, where you are CEO. And Wayfound was one of the first on the market in this space. You have those who are the most experienced doing this. Can you give some examples of some of the benefits, just off the top of your head, that some of your customers are getting, that they're getting from these guardian agents, that they are happy they're getting now because it surpasses what they were getting from just basic, traditional observability?
Absolutely. So we have been on the market longer than anyone else. We've been SOC 2 Type 2 compliant also as a guardian agent platform longer than anyone else. So we've been enterprise grade. And some of the things that we're seeing is that companies are able to deploy their agents 3 times faster, because when you close the loop in supervision and improvement, it's not just post-deployment where a supervisor agent can help. It's as you are testing the agent, the testing becomes so much more seamless, because you don't have to have, again, the humans, right, reading everything and analyzing it. You actually have this high level intelligence, right, helping guide you in how to change your prompts, how to change your directives, what kind of knowledge to add to the agent to help it improve much faster. So you get to deploy it a lot faster. The other thing that people can really understand is making sure that their agents are much more compliant. So with one of our early customers, Sauce Labs, they 5x'd their compliance, and now the guideline violations are under 1% for their customer service agents, making sure that they know their legal team, is confident with their agent, their, CEO is confident with their agent, and they get a lot less sort of questions and pushback from customers because the agent said something wrong. And, finally, another thing is when you have all these things coming together, you get to AI agent ROI overall much faster with Wayfound. When you have a supervisor that is helping an agent improve and also helping everyone in the organization understand that it is compliant with the way that it's supposed to be functioning, you have more confidence, and you can actually see that the agent is achieving its goals much faster. So you get to ROI much faster with the AI transformation.
That's great. I definitely hear you loud and clear on confidence. That comes, that's a powerful benefit, that holds a lot of people back if they're lacking it, holding them back from deployment. And the fact that Wayfound has been around doing this for so long, you're training your own agents on how to do this really well, right? So you guys have certainly learned from doing this in market the longest, I would imagine.
Absolutely. And I mean, a lot of people are trying to make a build versus buy decision right now. We have been at it for 3 years. And so, catching up with building a supervisor right now, in addition to doing all the things that you're, trying to do in your company and in your business is, very time consuming. It's probably better to have an independent supervisor also on an independent platform doing that supervision, as opposed to baking it into the same platform, the same systems, where you can actually have kind of a student grading their own work type of situation.
Great point to wrap on, Tatyana. And I know you guys have some great resources and scoping around what it would take to reach parity if you try to build this yourself. We'll drop that as a link in the description for this video. So thank you for your time today as we talk about observability to guardian agents.
Yep.